This week's channel message from the angels is super uplifting. It's like getting a excellent report card from the angels. They're telling us that, hey, we have actually done better with absorbing some of these energies than we ever thought we would. And by doing so, we have unlocked some new potentials for ourselves. So welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad you are here. Thank you so much for joining me for the message, for this week's message. And you guys know I post every single Friday with a new message from the angels. So those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. My name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm. I do that by raising my awareness as high as I can go, and then I stretch a little bit higher, and I connect, and then messages, information, and healing come through, and I share it here with you guys on YouTube. And I do that from a deep meditative, I call it trance channel. I do it from a deep meditative state or trance. So, and my format is I will give you a quick summary of the message. Then I will share the original channeling, which I did. I usually do that on Thursday nights before I share the message Friday mornings. So I'll share the recording of the original channeling. And then afterwards, we will break it down and talk through it paragraph by paragraph, because we always gather and glean a lot more information in depth from the message by doing that together. We hold the energy as a community, and we get a lot more out of it. So, okay, so a summary of the message for the week is that it is about the fact that there has been so much light hitting the planet, and we knew this was going to happen before we incarnated, but I think we underestimated how much of that light we would let come in. And so while we are still within this current 3D reality, they're saying that the reality that we are able to actually bend and move the reality more than we thought we could, which creates new potentials, new possibilities for us. And this is as a result of the fact that we have been working on our healing, that we have been integrating the light. So they're saying that it is as if, imagine if the reality that we're in is normally this fairly rigid thing. As we bring in light, it's almost like the possibility, the potential, us opening up to that light creates ripples and movements in the reality that can generate greater potentials, greater possibilities for us in our immediate reality than we maybe would have expected. And so all we need to do is become aware. It's really about our opening our mind to possibilities that we maybe didn't consider before. Maybe there's things you have wanted to do. Maybe you have even tried doing, but you kind of dug a bunch of holes and they all came up dry. Well, they're saying now the opportunities are richer, that maybe it makes sense to go back and dig again and see what happens now that the reality is more fluid. So it is a beautiful message. Like I said, very uplifting, and I think you guys are going to love it. So before we dive in, just a reminder, those of you who are in peace bathing, it's this Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific. So I know you guys are it's going to be like, it's just been every single time we have peace bathing. It seems like it was always different every time, but it just seems to be getting all the time more and more moving, I guess, is what I would describe. And you know, the point of peace bathing, it's the idea, it's an ongoing healing practice. So if you do not yet have your own healing practice, this is a great way to just keep your energy moving, always in alignment with the shifting energies that we are in. It's helping us to keep pace with this shift in consciousness month after month. And then you use it all month long. You use that recording as part of your healing practice. So anytime stuff triggers you during the day, whatever, you bring it into your peace bathing meditation, and it helps you always with your continual evolution. So anyway, so that is this Sunday. So reminder, if you are part of peace bathing, to be there. If you are not, it's not too late. You can always join us and be there this upcoming Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific. All right, so if you guys are ready, shall we dig into the message? Because it's a good one. All right, so let's do it.
Beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Blessings, we are within. We speak to you now of the context you are forming in the now moment and all that will evolve. The trajectory moving forward has shifted, has evolved, and is changing even now as we are speaking. There shall be and will become all means necessary and needed to propel yourselves toward your goal and objective, the shift in consciousness. There shall be and become the regularity of influences you require to assist you, to aid and guide you toward this future focus, this future way of becoming yourselves. all we have declared thus far is still reliable and can be readied for yourselves in understanding what is to pass and how you may thrive through what we have suggested. But the situations you may find yourselves in are not what they once were. The situations are changing. Your individual constellation of objectives and situations are evolving constantly, but the shades of remembering are coloring for you now and renewing vibrations from long ago that stir your heart and your soul into a greater possibility of what is positive as an expression of who you are in the moment. You are expanding, becoming expansive, and this is enduring and lasting and is voluble and expressible. It can become what you are in greater frequencies of what you are. You are evolving for the self, within the self, by the self, with greater expressibility than you had before. The consequential situations that you find yourself in are more permeable to the light now. And this is not as it once was. And this is a trajectory where you've gone farther and done more than you were expecting. In this incarnation, you've embraced more of what you've become. The door's opening, the possibilities become lengthening, and more overtures and potentials can be delved into while you are still within this current way of being and becoming. There are greater opportunities for you now to express your soul, even now, even here as you are, as you stand in this current reality. The doorways are becoming permeable. The layers of yourself become emboldened, and you may take care of your soul in ways you were previously not endowed with. We suggest to you now embrace this. Allow the self to settle into the kinship you are developing with your heightened state of awareness. Allow the self the permeability which we are speaking of, by which you can stretch yourself into greater dimensionality and greater expression of what is within your heart. We say the practical implications of this are coming to be known and felt in the reality where you are now. You may expansively settle upon a decision, a way, a fragmented choice that is a departure from what was. You may choose something else. You may leave, you may go, you may conquer anew. You may separate yourself from what no longer serves. You may divest yourself from that which ails you. You may create rivers of opportunity where there were none before. There is more permeability in all that exists to you now. It is the light that you are, the expansiveness you are embracing. It creates ripples in the reality, in the matrix of your own comprehending what is positive and what is possible. You are creative beings. Your soul is boundless. And the reality, as it has been constructed, is a fixative within which you are emboldened to become and to share your soul. This fixative is becoming liquefied. It becomes separated. There is a distilling of your essence from within it. And you may now decide for your soul what fragments continue on and what will you let go of. You may open your heart more full and allow more love to penetrate. And as you do this, as you participate more fully into the greatest breadth of your own comprehensive starlight, the openings of which we are speaking of become wider. More is possible, more is positive, even while you are still within the reality of this dimensional choosing. It fragments and it creates possibilities that were not there before. This is because of the frequencies you have embodied, of what you've taken in, of what you are allowing, of what you are accepting. You are opening your souls, yourselves, and the doorways unfold before you. And we encourage yourselves to embrace the now within the context of what may improve, what may get better. How might your light shine brighter? How might your soul stretch itself into higher dimensionality even now, while you settle within this one? What is the doorway of opportunity before you now? How have you been stretching your soul? What reaches for you from your beyond nature? What calls to you now as a spectacle of growth? See this as your own empowerment. Recognize how you have been changing, the shifting, the positivity you are embracing expands you already. In the knowing, we encourage yourselves to allow the stretching to presume its focus, to allow it to take you to a higher height, the stretch of your own comprehension of what is possible for you now. In regarding the reality as it is construed, there is the chaotic realms of experience which you are seeing, and these expand as well. There are greater volumes of energy penetrating the earth. There is more volubility in the expression of that energy. There are chaotic times ahead. This you have known and been knowing. We have spoken of these eventualities. And we wish for you to reside wholly within your own frequency. And do not allow those eventualities to disturb you. Do not feel as though the global impact of this dishevelment leads to your doorway, for it cannot penetrate the light that fills you. It cannot shake from you the growth of which we are speaking. It cannot disrupt the power of your own nature. Allow it to be and become what it is itself. It shall unravel and evolve. It shall become what it shall know itself as in the future. The chaotic times are a disturbance of their own experiencing in this world, and they belong not where you are. We encourage you now to expand yourselves into the permissibility to engage in two worlds, the one to which you belong, where your soul feels fully the impact of the light you are embracing, and a world in doubt that does not yet know itself. To which do you belong? You have chosen. You are stretching. You are reaching. You are guided. And you are guiding. And we embrace you. Allow the dishevelment not to dishevel you. We bless you. We thank you. Goodbye. So super cool message. I think it's just incredibly encouraging. And I think, really, if I had to kind of sum it up, I would say they're saying that, this is awesome. There's more light coming to the planet, and we have done a better job of embracing that light than we even thought we would. Like if we were, before coming to this planet, and we said, okay, what do we think is reasonable? What can we expect of ourselves, given kind of the chaos we were born into in terms of the trauma and everything we experienced? How much can we expect us to accept? And if we said, okay, we can set that bar at like 60%, if we're really ambitious, and they're saying, hey, you've made it to 70, like we exceeded our expectations with how much light we are willing to take in. And so they're saying that then opens for us opportunities and possibilities. It's almost like, from what I read, what they're saying, it's like the reality that we're in is it's like they describe it as liquefying. Like it's like we can move and have more space for change to create more change in this reality than we ever thought was going to be possible for us. So we can, it is really working with your creative apparatus. You're working with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your heart to try to generate something that potentially is a bold shift from where you are today. And so they ask us kind of like reflect back. So we're in this energy, like reflect what's happening for you in your life right now. Like, are you up against any transformational moments right now? Like, are you going through a change of any kind, or are you up against anything really difficult right now? This is that energy, right? It's like pushing us into potentials that maybe we didn't even see before now, that maybe were not even possible on the life journey that we plan for ourselves. So greater expansions are possible right now. And if they're saying like work with the energy, it's really like if our expectations were here, we need to broaden our expectations, look for the new potentials, and really kind of allow ourselves that it's possible. Like if you have a crazy dream, it may be possible now, right? So that's the feeling. And then they also address the fact that are saying, okay, energy is energy. So you may take this on in a really positive way. But that also means that the rest of the world is going to be hypercharged as well. So recognize, I said, yeah, there's chaos. There's going to be, bigger, crazier things going on in the world. But they're saying that does not mean it has to come to your door. So that doesn't mean it has to come into your living room. It means that we can be in an experience of two worlds, even while we are still in this one reality. And a lot of that is about being sovereign in our own self, that not getting sucked into the fear or the chaos that's happening. Just recognize if something does, like, so for example, if there's, a blackout or a storm or a wildfire where you are, not to see that as something that knocks you down. See that as grieve the moment, and then see the phoenix rising from the ashes, and recognize it's leading you somewhere positive, because positive things come to you. And so if there's something that's devastating, positive outcomes are what are coming to you. And that's the thing to really embrace. Even in the difficulties, positive outcomes are coming for you. It's amazing to think. Like, I think as we're kind of going through our experience, we may notice a shift in how we feel, but it's often like in the little healing spiral I talk about as we're moving through our healing journey, that there are these layers we go through. And at the top, one of the layers at the top is our conditioning and our expectations. It's almost like opening our mind to what is a potential or what is possible. It's sort of like, okay, in my garden, I have been hand watering the tomatoes and the strawberries that I have in the greenhouse, because that's just how it's set up. And then it finally dawned on me this morning, like, why don't I have a soaker hose with a timer on it? I don't have to manually water these. Duh. But it's just that, it's like it takes a minute for my brain to be like, well, this is just how I've been doing it. And then I just have to have a moment where it's like, oh, wait, there's a better way. And that's kind of how it is. I think that's the thing I think they're trying to draw our attention to, that we may be feeling the potential. We may be feeling, or we may even be seeing change in our life. But is there an even bigger potential there for you? Is there even something more for you? Or is there a way to see what's going on in your life that could be transformational? Is there a way to kind of, turn it to 11 to get even more out of it? So let's go ahead and break down the message and talk it through and go through it and see what else we can glean from it. Because I really like this message. I mean, obviously, who wouldn't like this message? They're telling you, like, hey, you've done great. You're getting more potential, more opportunities. So all the way around, this is like a super good report card. So here is what they say. Blessings we are within. We speak to you now of the context you are forming in, and the moment, and the now moment, and all that will evolve. The trajectory moving forward has shifted and has evolved and is changing even now as we are speaking. There shall be and will become all means necessary and needed to propel yourselves toward your goal and objective, the shift in consciousness. There shall be and become the regularity of influences you require to assist you, to aid and guide you toward this future focus, this future way of becoming yourself. So there's so much we could read into that, but they're really talking about, they're saying that everything is here to support us. Everything is here to help us align with where we're going. Now, some of those things are going to be the incredible amount of energetic support that's coming into the planet right now. Some of it is going to be your guides, your angels, the entire team that is out there to support you and to help you and to guide you right now. Like all of the team that we call on, each of us has. We all have our guardian angel, but we have so many members of out there that are literally. And did you know, by the way, that your guides in spirit, that they are also hoping to evolve by helping you, that you are hoping to evolve by being on earth, but your guides, that's like their job. And so when you call on them and involve them in your journey, they are having the chance to evolve. They are having the chance to work through things with you. So it's really like they benefit hugely by being of service to you. So it's that's kind of a cool thing, is to know that when you call on your guides, you're helping yourself, but you're also helping them to evolve, which is cool. You're putting them to work, right? They're just standing there like, help me, like let me in, team, let me your coach or whatever, let me into the team. So it's great when we can rely on them and ask them for guidance. And then the other thing about that too, know that, and this is an interesting thing I have seen from working with the angels and working with my own team of guides, is that we sometimes assume that we just have to ask the one time. But sometimes if you are working on something and the solution is not obvious, then it's a good idea to go back and to remember this is like a team. Imagine you're problem solving together. And we assume that they have knowledge of everything that's out there, and they do, like they have access to universal knowledge. But sometimes what you're trying to create or what you're trying to manifest in your life does not have an obvious answer. It's the thing that you would ask the universe will be like, well, there are many possibilities. So in those circumstances, that it is not a bad idea to continue the ongoing dialogue. Like, give your team, like, hey, okay, here's where we're moving forward, here's where we're not. Give them their report card. Like, here's where we're still stuck, here's where I'm still finding difficulty. Here's the areas, like, give them the good stuff. Here's the areas where I see progress. Here's where I don't see progress. Can we, what other resources can we apply to this issue? What do I need to do? What can you do? Like, think of it as like a team, hustle, whatever, or huddle, where you get together with your team, your spirit team regularly and say, this is what's working. This is what's on this thing we're trying to accomplish or trying to do, whether it be your own soul growth or your relationships or whatever it is. Here's what's working. Here's what's not, right? Here's what else can we do? Like, can you try something else? Can you bring in other experts? What can you do? Yeah. So think of it like just like that. How would you manage a team if you had your own team? Because you do. But they're saying we will have everything we need to move us forward. So some of that is going to be supportive. Some of that will be constriction, because this is the reality that we are living in. One of the ways that we have planned to push ourselves in the right direction is when we run into obstacles and when we run into difficulties. So see those not as reasons not to go forward. Evaluate the obstacles to come up to see if they are surmountable obstacles. Are they things put there to show you what is yet to be healed, what is yet to be worked through? So that is the idea that we will be given everything. Some of it will be pre-planned karmic experiences that help to push us in the direction we need to go, that force us to grow inside. So it's both. It's all the help that we have, and then it's also going to be some of the challenges that we have built into our journey. So all of that, like everything that we need, in other words, despite all the change, everything that we planned for our journey and everything that's here to serve us is still valid, is within this, is what they're saying. That we haven't modified that in a way that's going to prevent us from growing. Next paragraph, all we have declared thus far, in other words, the angels, everything that they've told us about what's coming, they say everything that we've declared thus far is still reliable and can be readied for yourselves in understanding what is to pass and how you may thrive through what we have suggested. So they're saying, despite the changes they're talking about, everything they've told us about in terms of all the events and stuff like that, they said all of that is still, as of this moment, still reliable, still valid. But the situations you may find yourselves in are not what they once were. So in other words, the stuff they've talked about is more global. It's more like stuff that's happening on the much larger stage. But what about your personal reality? So that is what this message is about. It is your reality, your life, your direct experience, as opposed to the global experience. So they say, but the situations you may find yourself in are not what they once were. The situations are changing. Your individual constellation of objectives and situations are evolving constantly, but The shades of remembering are coloring for you now and renewing vibrations from long ago that stir your heart and your soul into a greater possibility of what is positive as an expression of who you are in the moment. That was a large sentence. That was a mouthful. So the way I would look at this, the shades of remembering are coloring for you now. So the way I would look at this is one of the big jobs we have right now, being on the planet at this time, is like the job we have as our own healing, is trying to integrate all aspects of ourself. So they talk about the shades of remembering are coloring you now. So what do they mean when we are integrating energy? They say we've been allowing more energy in. That energy is attempting to harmonize us internally. The only way we can find harmony is by integrating all the aspects of ourselves that we have denied or pushed away. So we've talked about before that right now is a really, really unique time in human history. This is like in all of our past lives, we only had access to a very few number of past lives, the ones that we would have chosen that were directly related to this life. We would have chosen them based on, we say, okay, we want to heal this wound from this past life, and we're going to travel with the same group of people, and we are all going to work on that same situation together. Or it might be a situation where I had a particular gift in that life and I want to bring it into this life. So there's certain lives we would have connected to this life, but it would have been a handful. And then in terms of who could access the Akashic records in the past, it would have been only a few people on earth who had that as one of their spiritual gifts. But now, this life, all bets are off. And the door for your Akashic records are wide open because this is our last life in this specific reality, in this 3D reality. So this is they're saying, okay, great. It's all up for grabs. What do you want? This is bonus round. Like, what do you want to heal? Any life you want to heal, any situation, whatever, bring it all in. Let's work on everything. So this is the opportunity for us to reach back not only into this lifetime, but including other lifetimes to heal as much as possible. And so they're saying that we've been doing it. And it may be a thing that is happening even though you're not conscious of it. It may be a thing that you're working through things and coming to awarenesses and realizations, and they're wrapping up a long line of wounding with a neat little bow saying, okay, I choose to release that now. So we are having shades of remembering, right? Where we're saying we're allowing those things back in to say, okay, I acknowledge this is part of my experience. This has been part of who I am. And I love myself through that experience. I no longer deny that I had that experience or that I was that person or I felt that way. I allow that to be, and I still love myself. I let that richness into my body. And the richness sometimes hurts, I'll tell you, but it's expansive. It grows us. It's like a really deep breath. So the shades of remembering are coloring for you now as you're allowing all this stuff in, right? More of yourself in, and renewing vibrations from long ago that stir your heart and your soul. So they're allowing them in. It stirs our soul, our heart, and allows expanding us, right? Allows for a greater possibility of what is positive as an expression of who you are in the moment. So this is what they're really congratulating us for, is we have been doing a better job of really integrating more of ourselves, of healing ourselves. Right? They say you are expanding, becoming expansive, and this is enduring and lasting and is voluble and expressible. So in other words, that every little bit of us that we heal, every little bit of progress in terms of integrating who we are, learning about who we are at our depth, that is something that we will take with us. That's part of our soul. That's enduring forever. And we immediately begin to express that into our reality. So we begin to create from that deeper, richer self immediately. It's voluble, it's expressive, right? Expressible. They go on to say, it can become what you are in greater frequencies of what you are. So, right, so it's you, but playing with way more notes to play because you're just becoming a deeper, richer version of you. So you are evolving for the self, within the self, by the self, with greater expressibility than you had before. So the key to this is if we're expressing ourselves, that means we are transforming our reality because our reality is a reflection of who we are. So if we are allowing more in, then that is by nature expanding our experience of life. So this is super cool, right? They go on to say, the consequential situations that you find yourself in are more permeable to the light now. And so why would it be permeable to the light? So this is that idea that we talk about integrating all parts of our soul, but imagine that your soul, like that the connection between you and your higher self is like this great big pipe coming down, and it's full of divinity, full of divine light. It is your unique starlight just coming in, But inside of that pipe, it's all clogged up. It's all clogged up with all the things that you're like, Mel, I don't like this about myself, or I wish I didn't have that experience. And all of those are like, what they would call like occlusions or blockages inside the pipe. And but it's even like, it's like the whole body, like, because the body is the instrument. The body is the thing that then transmits the light. But if there's things in the body that we would rather not feel, that we close down, or if there's stuck emotions in the body, then as that light tries to come through, it gets blocked and not as much light transmits. But the more we heal, the more we integrate, the more we accept, the more we process through our heart, then the body becomes more permeable, more light comes through. So, and they say, and this is not as it once was. And this is a trajectory where you've gone farther and done more than you were expecting in this incarnation. So yay us. There's our report card right there. We're doing great, right? We are really crushing it in terms of our own healing. And I know that we hear this and we think, how can that be when the world is crazy, crazy, crazy? But they know who they're speaking to here. The people who are on path are you guys who are listening to their messages. So people don't stumble. You guys notice in YouTube, I always put channeled on my video descriptions. On the title, I always put channeled first, because that gives it right up front. That tells people what kind of message this is going to be. And people who are going to be in a space of antagonism toward that are not going to want to watch it. So it self-selects for those people who are in harmony or resonance, who are open, right? Who are open to receive the messages that the angels are bringing. And that is not because we don't want to make them available for everyone, but it needs to be a thing where there's a give and a take. There has to be an offering and there has to be a seeking that happen at the same time. It has to be sought out. So I always put that word channeled so that the people who are seeking will find it. And the people who are not going to be, for them, wasting their time. Yeah. So anyways, they go on to say, and this is the trajectory where you've gone farther and done more in this incarnation. You've embraced more of what you've become. The door is opening. The possibilities become lengthening, and more overtures and potentials can be delved into while you are still within this current way of becoming. So this right here, more permeable. The other thing about being more permeable to the light now, I see this as really referring to our spiritual perspective. That the thing that I think the way that we will see this change manifesting in our lives is that we will be more and more capable of seeing things from a spiritual perspective, rather than being sucked into our triggers, rather than being sucked into our wounding. So rather than seeing something, if someone says something and we take it really personally and it activates old wounds, instead we're able to kind of rise above and say, oh, I understand that statement came from their wounding. And then we're able to connect to compassion rather than connecting to anger and getting sucked back into old patterns of our own. So that is sort of how this shows up. And then that, because we're not stuck in this push and pull, which, by the way, takes a ton of energy, because we're not limited in that way anymore. We're not giving energy to these things that tax us. New energy flows, doors open, right? This is kind of what they're describing for us here. So the door is opening, the possibilities become lengthening, and more overtures and potentials can be delved into while you are still within this way of being and becoming. So it's really, this is not about all of a sudden moving into the higher state of consciousness, because we kind of have to wait for the earth to make that change. But we are even now in this space able to make our lives better. And that is awesome, awesome, awesome. There are greater opportunities for you now to express your soul, even now, even here as you are, as you stand in this current reality. The doorways are becoming permeable. The layers of yourself become emboldened, and you may take care of your soul in ways you were previously not endowed with. So, and I like that they didn't say you can do more. They say you can take care of your soul, right? Think about that. That's such an interesting phrase to use when they're talking about stretching ourselves. That it isn't like, it's not that, it isn't about you have to do this. It isn't about you are failing if you don't do this. It is about loving yourself, about taking care, like loving and taking care of the soul that's inside of you. That is the key of who you really, really are. And so it isn't a thing where we can, I think, hold ourselves accountable in judgment. It is in all ways a question about how much are we loving ourselves. And when we love ourselves more and more light comes through, and it's like this it's like a doubling effect. The more we do, the better it gets. And they said the doorways are becoming permeable, the layers of yourself become emboldened. So all of these things are the same thing, right? Why do the doors become permeable? Because the layers of ourself become emboldened. It's like it's all self-reinforcing. It's literally like if we will just let go, if we will just allow, if we will just receive, right? It's so hard because our default is control, 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 control. So, but we are getting better at it, is what they're telling us. Yeah. All right. Next paragraph. They say, we suggest to you now embrace this. Allow the self to settle into the kinship you are developing with your heightened state of awareness. And kinship means like sharing, people also often refer to kinship as like something like being blood related or being related in genealogy. So it's like sharing of characteristics or origins. So you share the origins with your higher state of awareness. So it's basically they're saying that this is all, even though if like we have had over the course of our life learned to embrace our higher state of awareness, it's always been who we are. It's always been a part of us. Like it's basically us. But that heightened state of awareness is that spiritual perspective, seeing things from the state of compassion as opposed to the state of judgment or trigger. Allow the self permeability, which we are speaking of, by which you can stretch yourself into greater dimensionality and greater expression of what is within your heart. The next paragraph, they say, we say the practical implications of this are, and here they're kind of trying to drill it down, say, how might this show up in your life? Here are some examples. They're saying, okay, one of the ways is that the implications are coming to be known and felt in the reality where you are now. You may expansively settle upon a decision, a way, a fragmented choice that is a departure from what was. So there may be something that you have an opportunity to, and an opportunity may come to you, or you may be on the brink of an opportunity that would be a decision or a way, or that is something that is taking you in a new direction, something you didn't expect. Right? And they say a fragmented choice may be like imagine that there were certain realities and there's one that kind of breaks off and says, well, how about this way that's brand new? So it fragments and says, okay, let's create something new that I didn't previously see. So for example, somebody has been on a job search for a long time and they've been looking like in their local area. And then it suddenly occurs to them, well, wait a minute, what if I found a remote job that was actually based in another state? You know, what if I looked in another state that allowed me to work remotely and I was able to stay here, but have the job there? Like, okay, that's like a fragment that burst off. It's like, hey, here's a possibility, a pathway I just hadn't considered before. What if I did that? Would that be expansive? Would that be then lead me towards opportunities? I would get to travel sometime. I would be working in a new team, you know, whatever it is. It could be very expansive. So that is the first thing. So is there a choice showing up for you now that breaks off from what was, that leads you in a new direction that maybe you haven't considered before? Another one, they say, you may choose something else. You may leave, you may go, you may conquer anew. So what is it? It's just as simple as saying, okay, I'm just making a different choice. I don't want to do this. I want to do that. Like something outside of your norm, something that's maybe breaking ground for you. You may leave an old circumstance that you've been in for a long time, or you may begin to take on something brand new in some aspect of your life. What would that be? Then they also say you may separate yourself from what no longer serves. This could be the ending of dynamics that you've outgrown in any aspect of your life. They say you may divest yourself from that which ails you. So there is the potential here to free yourself from various health implications. What maybe you're struggling with. Is there a new solution that presents itself, or a new way of even working with whatever disabilities you may have experienced in your life? There could be something coming forward that says, hey, here's a pathway you hadn't considered, or here's a solution you maybe haven't considered, or a resource you could lean on that suddenly shows up that solves a problem for you. They go on to say, you may divest yourself from, you may create rivers of opportunity where there were none before. So they're really saying, stretch your imagination. There may be options or possibilities for you that you are in more of a place of creation now than you have been in the past. So revisit things that you've previously felt like, hey, I kind of dug all the possible holes here and I never struck water. Maybe go back and dig again and see, does it turn up something new now because you have changed? So, okay, so they go on next paragraph. There is more permeability in all that exists to you now. It is the light that you are, the expansiveness you are embracing. It create ripples in the reality, in the matrix of your own comprehending what is positive and what is possible. So this is that idea that the more we hold the vibration that there is more possibility, that where any place where we told ourselves that's impossible or that's too hard or that won't work for me, that we're starting to hold this new positive, hey, maybe, and that maybe makes a ripple in reality, and that ripple creates space for something better to show up for you. All right, they go on to say, and there's two paragraphs coming up that I feel really bring this kind of concisely, like this is one of them, concisely into understanding. It says, you are creative beings. Your soul is boundless. And the reality as it has been constructed is a fixative within which you are emboldened to become and to share your soul. So a fixative is, I had looked this up, it is a chemical substance used to stabilize and preserve. So it's used to keep things in position or stick them together. So, which is an amazing way to describe a reality. It is a fixative. It is like tying us all into one agreed upon concept of what the world is going to be. So we are in this fixative. It's basically kind of locking things in place. So reality has been constructed as a fixative within which you are emboldened to become and share your soul. So there's been a purpose to it. Like, why is it like that? Because it creates the obstacles and the chaos that we have to bump up against, which force us to grow. So that's why we've done it. That's why we made it so dense, right? A fixative makes sense. It's meant to keep us from moving. It's dense, right? To keep us in position so that we have to bump up against it and fight in order to grow. But then they say, very, very cool, this fixative is becoming liquefied. So such a cool metaphor. It becomes separated. So that's the ripples, right? The possibility, the positive is all of a sudden this fixative is like, whoa, wait, there's a little bit more movement. This is things not so stiff, I'm not so stuck. I might be able to shift something here. There is a distilling of your essence from within it. So more of you kind of get to be like, hey, I have more power. I have more potential than I realized. And you may decide for your soul what fragments to continue on and what to let go of. You may open your heart more full and allow more love to penetrate. So I love, love, love this paragraph. Yeah, so cool. And such a great metaphor for reality. Okay, next paragraph, they say, and as you do this, as you participate more fully into the greatest breadth of your own comprehensive starlight, the openings of which we are speaking of become wider. Right? So the more we put in, this is what I was saying before, it's kind of a doubling effect. The more we put in, the more we expand. So it's like it's almost like, imagine like think about how if you live in like a really cold place and you know that if there's a pothole or a crack in the sidewalk, that if you let it go through the winter and if water gets in there and it freezes and expands and shrinks and expands and shrinks and then the crack or the pothole just gets bigger, it's like that. It's like that. Like we are the potholes, we are the cracks in our reality. And if you let a little light flow there, a little bit more light, then it shrinks and expands and shrinks and expands, and it pushes that crack bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And it disrupts the current fabric of reality and makes space for more light to come in. So potholes. The openings of which you are speaking become wider, right? More is possible. More is positive, even while you are still within the reality of this dimensional choosing. It fragments and it creates possibilities that were not there before. All right, next paragraph, and I highlighted this one too. This is because of the frequencies you have embodied, of what you've taken in. So this is how much we've been receptive to the incredible amount of light hitting the planet. We have allowed more in. Of what you are allowing, of what you are accepting. You are opening your souls, yourselves, and the doorways unfold before you. So the more we let in, the more that ripples out, the more opportunity it creates, the more it kind of breaks apart the fixative of reality and allows us more degrees of movement and degrees of change that we can create for ourselves. They go on to say, and we encourage yourselves to embrace the now within the context of what may improve, what may get better. So really like looking at your life now, not in a way of criticizing, because we want to love what is. We want to look at everything that is and say, there is a blessing in all aspects of my life. There's a blessing for me. But what is it that if you would say, what would be fun? Where's the joy? We're trying not to get away from something because that's fear driven. Where would there be more joy for you? What would be joyful? How could you add more joy to your life right now? What area of your life would bring greater sense of happiness and joy? Just enjoying life, just celebrating what is. So that is it, right? What may improve? What may get better? How might your light shine brighter? How might your soul stretch itself into higher dimensionality even now while you settle within this one? What is the doorway of opportunity before you now? And so now they're talking about like, this is already this energy. We've been working with this for a little while. They're kind of bringing it to our attention. They're saying, hey, look at this that you guys are doing. See what's available to you now. Because they're saying, so you notice where in your life are you currently encountering this? What is the doorway of opportunity before you now? How have you been stretching your soul? What reaches for you from your beyond nature, from your higher, from the next stage of consciousness? What calls to you now as a spectacle of growth? See this as your own empowerment. Recognize how you have been changing. The shifting, the positivity you are embracing expands you already. So where is it in your life that you're seeing either the greatest tension and the greatest feeling of like contraction? Because that contraction, what that is you pushing against the boundaries in your life, right? Where is it you're feeling the greatest friction? Because that's your area that you're really, really trying to move forward. You're pushing against the fixative of our reality, trying to create ripples, trying to create space for your growth. So, or is it there are things in your life that you are proactively choosing? What major change are you currently creating in your life? And see that as an example of this ability, of this energy that you're now embracing. So it's cool to kind of think in your life, like, what is it for you? Where are you growing? What major change have you seen just really in the last month even? So in the knowing, we encourage yourselves to allow the stretching to presume its focus. So what is the focus of the stretching? It is basically, in terms of what is the goal of this energy, it is to expand us, right? It is to allow it to take you to a higher height. That's the goal. So allow it to presume its goal. It's to take you to the higher height. So go with the flow, like let it take you. The stretch of your own comprehension of what is possible for you now. Right? So stretching our ideas, and this is, again, we're working at sort of the top of the healing spiral. This is working with our expectations, broadening. So in other words, the reality is ready, right? The stew has been brewed, and now we just have to see it. And that is a big challenge for us, is seeing it, because we get locked into, oh, I tried that before, it didn't work, or this is my lane, I'm gonna stay in my lane. Like we do that in ways we don't even see until after we break free of it. So is there anything like that going on for you? Is there any place where maybe it takes a broadening of perspective to see more possibility or more potential? Like really stretch yourself to say, what have I not questioned in the ways that when I look at something and say, this is where I'm at, is there anything any stone I could turn over and see it from a new perspective? To see more of what is possible for us now. All right, so now they go into talking about how the world's experience is not your experience. So they're talking more about the chaos in the world here. They say in reality, or in regarding the reality as it is construed, there is the chaotic realms of experience which you are seeing, and these expand as well. There are greater volumes of energy penetrating the earth. There is more volubility, and volubility means, I wrote that down. Volubility is about like expressing, and it's about the quality of talking fluently, readily, rapidly, a lot. So volubility is like a ton of expression of this energy. There is more volubility in the expression of that energy. So it's just bigger. So the volumes of energy penetrating the earth. So in other words, they have a really positive effect for us in many ways, but they fuel everything. Energy is energy. You can put gas in any kind of car and it makes the car go. Doesn't matter if it's a really great car or like a not so great car, right? So it's like energy is energy. And so, or I guess a better description of that rather than gas would be money. That you could put the money in the hands of someone who takes it and then creates incredible positive change in the world, or you could put money in the hands of someone who can do very bad things with that money. So it's just energy. Money is just energy. And so that's what they're saying here, is this energy that's coming to the earth is creative energy. It's energy. And how are we using it? And you are going to use it to grow your life and grow your soul. But what about the energies that are expressing themselves right now that are trying to clear, as the earth is trying to clear a lot of its junk? Well, that is going to become amplified as well. There is so there are greater volumes of energy penetrating the earth. There is more volubility in the expression of that energy. There are chaotic times ahead. This you have known and been knowing. We have spoken of these eventualities. And we wish for you to reside wholly within your own frequency and do not allow those eventualities to disturb you. So this is something they have really spoken to us about at length, is they say, what do we do? Like if you feel stressed out, if you feel worried, they say, bring yourself back to your four walls. Where are you sitting right now? And notice the space that you are in, and notice that where you are, it's peaceful. Like where you are right now, all of this stuff that's going on in the world, the war that's going on in the world, and so many different levels, right? There's so much happening out there that is bad news, right? Lots of fear, lots of anger, lots of frustration. But when you bring your attention back to where you're sitting, is any of that in your space right now? Like, and you look in your immediate room, none of that is present right now. And so noticing that is that really your reality? Is that even true for you? Like you hear about it on the news, you'll hear about it if you listen to YouTube, but when you bring your back to your reality, this is your reality. Is it even true? Right? Does it exist where you exist? Maybe that's a different place and maybe you're not existing there. And that's where they want us to stay, that space of saying that can exist. It can be over there in that reality, but you live here in this reality, in the reality that you are creating, in the space that's immediately around you. So they're saying, do not feel as though the global impact of this dishevelment leads to your doorway. Right? They're saying, don't invite it in. Don't spend your energy there. Close the shades. Leave it out there. Like, let it have its day. It needs its time to express. It does. But it doesn't mean you have to invite it in. They say, for it cannot penetrate the light that fills you. It cannot shake you from the growth of which we are speaking. It cannot disrupt the power of your own nature. Love that. Allow it, in other words, the chaos, let the chaos to be and become what it is, itself. It shall unravel and evolve. It shall become what it shall know itself as in the future. The chaotic times are a disturbance of their own experiencing in this world, and they belong not where you are. So it's really it's a lovely expression of like we getting back to that idea of being at peace with what is, of not saying that chaos isn't allowed to be, because the fact is a lot of that chaos is the expression of underlying currents in the same way that we are trying to excavate the pieces of our soul, which we have pushed down and repressed and don't want to experience. That is true for the planet and true for the whole, all of Earth, all of humans, like our collective consciousness. We have to allow this stuff to come to the surface, and it's not pleasant, but that doesn't mean it needs to come to the surface in your living room. So that is kind of the distinction that they are making. Let it be, let it become, let it have its moment so that it can integrate. It's what we all have to do. But just you can be in your own, you get to create your reality. So, and they go on to say, next paragraph, allow it to be and become. Next paragraph. We encourage you now to expand yourselves into the permissibility to engage in two worlds. And permissibility is just another word for allow. So in other words, allow the idea that there can be two worlds. They say the one to which you belong, where your soul feels fully the impact of light that you are embracing, and a world in doubt that does not yet know itself. And I love that that is a judgment-free statement. Right? It's a world that does not yet know itself. In other words, if it did know itself, it would be peaceful and loving, but it doesn't yet know itself. So that's all that's wrong. It doesn't yet know itself. It's not saying it's bad, right? There's no judgment there. It's just, do you know yourself or do you not know yourself? So they say, to which of these two worlds do you belong? And they say, you've chosen. You've already chosen. So it's like, you're not even like this is a test you have to pass. You have already chosen. You've chosen to be in the world where that is the world where your soul feels fully the impact of the light you are embracing. That's the world you've chosen. They say you are stretching, you are reaching, you are guided, and you are guiding. So you are healing yourself and you are shining a light for others, right? And they say, and we embrace you. Allow the dishevelment not to dishevel you. We bless you. We thank you. Goodbye. I think a big thing about this, allow the dishevelment not to dishevel you. This is like one of the big things I have had to focus on recently. It's been one of the big things that's come up in my healing in the last, really the last month, especially the last 2 weeks, where they've been kind of like hitting it home, like be aware of this. And I think I joked about it with you guys that they told me the mother of creation was having this amazing conversation with her. And she said specifically, you are not an ark, A-R-K, like you are not an ark. And what is an ark? What is the purpose of an ark? Like if you think about the story of Noah's Ark, and what is the job of the ark? The ark was there to save, right? To save all the animals and to save all the beings. And they're basically saying, we can't save each other. We are not here to save. And that means don't take on the journey, other people's journey. And what they were very clear with me, and I know so many of you empaths, we feel when someone else is suffering. And you also know, because you are old souls, you know you are capable. You know you have more resources than many others do. And so you see someone suffering and you say, I can help. I will step in. And so they're saying that is not your job. Like it's a space. There are spaces where we can help, where it feels joyful, where it feels like that your heart is full and your heart is overflowing. And say that is the space that we want to help from. We want to serve from the space of being the light, not from the space of giving them our light. And that is the big difference. So they told me about a life I had. And I don't know much about the life. I just know about after the life. Apparently, I had this life where after the life, my heart was put in a jar. They said my heart is, I don't know if it still is being carried, but it was in a jar. It was being carried from, and it sounds like it was in, because they said it was in being from temple to like pagoda. So it's like somewhere could be in Japan. I don't know. I tried to Google it. I'm like, where is there a heart being carried to? I don't even know, you guys. It's like, okay, the main point they were trying to say to me was that there was a lifetime in which I gave my heart to like the people, and the idea of like to be in service, to try to save others, right? The idea that I felt so strongly the plight of everyone in terms of their suffering, that in my death, I don't know if maybe I willed my heart to them. I have no idea how this happened, but my heart ended up in a jar and then it was carried like a religious object from place to place. And they said, they're teasing me about this, and this is actually the mother of creation who was speaking, but she said, like, your heart is a divinely gifted object, and it does no good in a jar. Like, who is it serving in a jar? Like, if you give yourself away to others, if you go out with the idea that I am here to serve, and that is my purpose, I am here to serve, you're putting your heart in a jar and you're giving it to someone else. And you're saying, here, I feel so strongly your plight. I feel so strongly your suffering. I will give you my most precious thing. I'll give you my heart. And I feel you, so I'm going to give you my heart and see if that helps. And what they're saying is, what good does it do in a jar? The only place your heart does any good is in your body. And so what they're saying is, put your heart back in your body and just be, and let it beat as strong as it can be. Because it's the same idea, that you can't serve somebody from an empty cup, that you have to fill your cup with tea and then let it overflow. And the overflow is what serves others. So this idea, you are not an ark, right? You are not here to save. You save by, it just happens because you are being the light. The more that you can fill your cup and be the light and keep your heart in your own chest and fill and nurture and care for that heart and love the heart by honoring yourself, not abandoning yourself, loving yourself by listening to your needs and honoring your needs and speaking your needs. The more that we do that, the more we fill our cup. Right? It is honoring, like listening to all the parts of ourself that we've abandoned and rejected and letting those come forward. And again, we're filling our cup, loving ourselves. And the more we do that, the more we overflow our cup, the brighter our light. That is how we help others. So it's not that we're immune to the other people's suffering. And it's not that we're not here to help them, but the way that we're here to help them is not by giving them our heart in a jar. And I did actually have to go through like a little healing process to like take my heart back from that life. Because it's like, yeah, it's not good to leave your heart in a jar. So, but the point is for all of us, yeah, that keep your heart in your chest, love yourself, and trust that when you feel great, like, and think about that as an idea too, that how often You may walk into a room and feel like you've been having a great day. You feel amazing. And then you go and spend time with a friend and that friend is just low. Like they're having a bad time. And what happens to your energy in that moment? Because the temptation often is for us to lower our vibration to be able to connect and relate. And we feel like, oh, I'm going to try to cheer this person up. So I'm going to come back down to where they are feeling and try to gather them up, right? And what happens in that circumstance? Like, how do you feel in that circumstance when you're like flying high and then you come in and your friend is miserable and you all of a sudden you go into like, oh gosh, I had miserable experiences too, and let me relate to you and let me be at your vibration so at that you're not alone, right? So that I can try to draw you forward. But it doesn't actually work. Like like often what ends up happening is this kind of piling on where it's like I had a terrible thing happen. Well, I had a terrible thing happen. Oh my gosh, my terrible thing was even more terrible, right? That's what we do. And so what if instead you made a practice of trying to think about keeping your vibration high while also radiating compassion? Like imagine what that would feel like. Is it possible? Right? Is it I remember, you guys, I'm going on a tangent here, but I remember when I was in college, we used to get mail, in our mailboxes. I had a bunch of roommates and I was living on campus, and getting mail was like a really big, exciting thing, because it was like you'd go every day and you'd check your mailbox and there was never anything in it. And one day I went and I got like a notice that there was a package for me. My mom had sent me like some Mrs. Fields cookies, and I was all excited because I got mail. You know what I mean? And I was like, I had all my roommates like, I got mail. I'm so excited. I got cookies. And I was happy to share. But my roommates got mad at me, and they were like, well, you shouldn't make other people feel bad because they didn't get mail. And I was like, like it never occurred to me that me being happy made other people feel bad. And so I kind of checked myself and I changed my behavior and I stopped expressing my joy. Right? I noticed that when I was really joyful, I would kind of keep it to myself because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making them feel bad when I'm happy. And I came home for break and my mom, like something happened and my mom just looks at me and she's like, what is wrong with you? She's like, why are you being so, so down? Well, she was just like, who are you? Because she always called me her sunshine. Like I was always, like a pretty happy kid. And it was kind of snapped me out of it. And I was like, wow, yeah, I guess I had really, in order to be liked, I had pushed my own light down. So I think it's a thing for us to master, to learn. How do we do this? How do we radiate our joy, even in a situation where somebody else might be suffering? How do we come into that circumstance and not lower our vibration, but try to keep our high vibration and make that vibration contagious? Is that possible? How do we be that? That's the goal, I think, for us to strive for. How do we stay in our highest vibe, is stay in our, if we have joy, why not lift them up? Why not share that? And I have to look back at that time and say, why is it that I couldn't? I think it's because at the time my heart was closed. And when I was in college, like I had not yet gone through my awakening, my heart was still closed. So was I able to share? If your heart's closed, it's very hard to let light in or to let light out. So I don't think I would have really been capable of sharing my joy. I think I would have felt my joy and my joy would have been in me and I would have been just bopping around feeling my joy and being like, this is all my joy, and it's all for me. And I think the difference, the felt experience of being where I am today is that I think, and I can feel this, the truth of it in my body is that when I feel joy now, what I feel is my heart reaching out to create the light with others. I feel that joy and it connects. It's almost like I can't even keep it in. It reaches out to connect. I seek other light when I'm joyful. And I think that's the difference. So something to think about and something for us to work with in our lived experience. How do we move in a world where there's all different vibrations and try to maintain our vibration as high as we possibly can and to share the light from that, to fill our cup, right? To take care of our own souls, to nurture ourselves, and then to try to share that light as much as possible. And this is not to say spiritual bypassing in any way. Like that doesn't mean if you feel bad that you're like, I need to not feel bad. No, when we grieve in the moment. When things come up, we grieve in the moment. We notice what comes up, we pay attention, and we move through it to the light, right? But that's we process and we move through. But if you're already in that high state, then I think it's a thing, particularly for us empaths. How do we show love? How do we show compassion without becoming the lower vibration? Yeah. So I'll be curious to see how you guys feel about that too. So you guys, thank you so much for being here and sharing this message. I am so grateful for you, for this community, and for how uplifted I feel after being with you. So I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will see you guys next Friday live. Bye, you guys.